Greetings. This is Fair None, and I'm recording a video early in the morning, just trying to make my contribution to it being a better world. It's Thursday, June 16th, 2016. It's 5:15 in the morning. About to get my day started real soon. Walk my dogs, and do my garden, take my children to the award ceremony. School is out. I'll be taking care of them and what have you. Anyway, greetings. I'm coming to you today with another speech, and all I'm doing right now is seeking your indulgence because I want to offer my views on what's going on in the world right now and what we could do about it. I want to offer my perspective on something really important that we need to talk about, and the issue is freedom. And without any further ado, let me get started. Greetings, this is Fair None. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president, founder, and only member of the UIA, the Universal Intelligence Agency. Now, in case you're still unaware of my objective, it's my mission to make the world a better place through the use of the benefit of knowledge. Big job. I don't know if I do make my little contributions every day to make the world a little better place, even if it's just that much better every day. I'm a one-man organization, and forever it shall remain that way. Now, before I begin, I would like to tell you a few more things about myself. Like I mentioned before, I'm not affiliated with anybody, and I'm not representative or motivated by anyone but myself and my cause. I'm working towards freedom, the freedom of my people in particular, black people, but I would like for all people to be free one day. We're feeling it the worst, and we are the key to fixing all this shit. Then and only then will the world begin to be a better place when we get our stuff right. Now, who are my people really? All human beings are my people, whether any of us choose to admit it or not, whether we like it or not. All people come from the African species. History and science proves that. All I'm doing is continuing the work of all the great revolutionaries of the past and present in a way that not too many people who do what I do seem to be willing to do. I'm manifesting my own individual will into existence the way that I want to. So if you don't like it, manifest yours the way that you want to do it. I'm announcing to everyone straight out the gate from the beginning that my aim is to get at the truth. And this is no easy task, and I won't be speaking in a way that is tailored to ease the consciences of those who might be listening. I'm going to hurt a few feelings around here. Now, some of you may not like the references that I make to your ancestors and yourselves, who today are the beneficiaries of the things that your ancestors have put in place so that things could be the way that they are today. Now, I can't help that. Only you could. Somewhere along the line, your ancestors and the people of today are still guilty of what they are guilty of, should have thought to themselves, are my actions going to have to be explained away by my offspring years later? And is this shit ever going to get exposed? And that should have been a hindrance or deterrence to those who actively or tacitly are or were participating in those acts. Did it? Obviously not. You see, if I make reference to you and your ancestors and what has been done historically to me and my ancestors, it's not me that you should be angry at. It is you and your ancestors that should bear the shame, not people like me. I'm a victim. I'm one of those people who have done my research and connected the dots and have trained myself to think critically and analytically. And in some cases, those dots have led me directly to you, the listener. Now, this does not mean that all the information that I have is correct. I would be a fool to claim that, and you would be a fool to believe it if I did. Now, at some point, when your ancestors were out enjoying themselves, committing those various crimes against humanity, of which many of you are still guilty of committing against black people until this very day, your ancestors had to have it in the back of their mind somewhere that there was going to be a day of reckoning of which they and their offspring would be exposed for the culprits that they really are. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in those times. Let me also say to you that if you know that if you are not guilty or complicit tacitly or actively in the things that I make reference to, remain quiet because it don't apply to you, right? At least you don't think that it does, do you? Now, I'm not a madman, and if I were, you could say that there is a method to my madness, and I didn't just imagine all this stuff that I'm talking about today. All this stuff that I'm talking about today is as real as me and you, if you're listening to this. Now, don't get caught up in ego, because if you truly want to understand where it is that I'm coming from, listen to me and you might learn something here. I think it's messed up that I have to do this, because when I take my children to private school, the private school that they go to, all the children that they socialize with are from various ethnic backgrounds, and they get along perfectly together. To me, this is the proof that there's no real problem with humanity. The problem lies with us, the adults, who picked up bad habits along the way. We started out perfect, picked up bad habits along the way, picked up some wrong information and what have you. Anyway, I wish I could do what I'm doing without pointing my fingers at anyone or identifying anyone else's shortcomings, because the universe knows that I have quite a bit of my own. Now, I spent a great deal of my life trying to figure out how to get along with others and accept others as individuals, regardless of their backgrounds or shortcomings. And I've spent the remaining portion of my life, after gaining a little knowledge, separating myself from those that I've deemed unworthy of my company, and with good reason, good cause. And after having spent some time on the planet, initially with a fresh slate or a clean garment, I began to discover that things are not quite the way that I was told that it was. In fact, the world was nothing like what I was told that it had been. The world that we live in is a wicked place, and the world itself is fine, but the people running it are corrupt, vicious, and hypocritical. As a youth, I gained a lot of insight into humanity's propensity towards inhumane behavior towards other humans, first at home, then on the street, then through the educational system, not necessarily in that order. Now, little did I know that the worst was yet to come, and it wasn't until I became an adult that the real education on the subject would become. Now, I was put into all types of situations that had the potential to make me sully my garment, and I had choices to make. And at this point, I cannot pretend that the conditions of the world are not the way that they are, and if they were allowed to continue on the course that it is by design, my children and other children who look like my children will be the serving class, as their counterparts are currently being groomed on how to be the business class and or ruling classes of society. Very short. Thank goodness this will never happen, because we are all being hit with something much bigger than classism or racism or status. Very shortly, we will all be hit with government orchestrated financial collapse, martial law, and perhaps even chattel slavery for all people in the near future. Now, this thing has hit critical mass, and our so called rulers are changing the game on us, so to speak. And I wish that I could just close my eyes and wish this racism, classism, status madness and just make it go away, but we all know better. These issues will not go away on their own. These issues have to be confronted by someone who is not in a popularity contest with anyone else, and I'm not. I'm aware that by taking the direction or course that I've decided to take in life, that there are going to be many people who are in support of what I'm doing until I get around to them and how they themselves are contributing to the downfall of humanity. And then those same people who once supported me are going to hate me. So what? I'm not upset at that, because I know why. I represent change. I represent real change, the real, and not too many people are used to that. I grew up with the kind of personality that I have, and at some point I discovered really quickly that people only wanted people around them that are real about certain things. I learned that letting people know what you think about them is wrong, and the way that they're living, it's dangerous, and it'll cause people who like you and even those who love you to turn on you right away. Now, many of these people who have worked their whole lives and discovered a formula of success to make life comfortable for them and to make their dreams a reality, do not care about you and the rest of us. They have other concerns. They look at life differently from you and I. That is, if you're as economically challenged as I am. They figure that if they could make it by applying themselves, then so can the rest of us. And a lot of them seem to conveniently forget what it is that they had to do to attain the station that they are in life, and what it took for them to remain there. Moving on. You people who have tried to suppress true knowledge in all its forms were foolish to think that you could do it forever, and that In the end, your plans will not work, and the good people of the world will eventually overcome you. Your hustle will be ended, and the true freedom will be established among the people by and through the use of the benefit of knowledge. The knowledge that myself and others try to convey to the masses is not easily acquired, or was not. Countless people have died of all ethnic backgrounds in order that the knowledge that we share with you, or that the knowledge that is shared generally, is out, so that the correct perspectives of history and current events could be formed, so that everyone could come to their own conclusions from a vantage point of one who knows, rather than whose points of view was formed due to the absorption of improper information. Now, I must warn you that in saying the things that I'm about to say, it is likely that at some point I will offend, however slightly, just about anyone who is brave enough to listen to the whole thing. Now, even the people that are generally considered to be the ones that I'm working in the interest of, we are all guilty of something. So I'm gonna expose that, or I'm gonna expose some of that today. I come to you to discuss again a topic of very deep concern, one that should be near and dear to all of our hearts. And that issue, in case you're still unaware to its nature, is freedom. Now, I've been doing what I'm doing presently for about 25 years now. And during this period, thankfully, I've been able to see many things that others have demonstrated that they're not able to see. A lot of that vision has been clouded because of the lack of proper knowledge of the proper knowledge base to properly articulate my concerns to others. So I set out in attempts to successfully do so anyway. Now, over that period, my personality and my knowledge base has been growing, and I am not the same person that I was back then. I'm constantly growing. These are There are things that I believed in strongly back then that I simply do not believe in presently after having done some investigation. Moreover, there are things that I was unaware of back then that I am painfully reminded of daily. So, those things being said, I ask anyone following my work to forget all that I've said in the past, really, and focus on what I'm dealing with right now. The title of this current work is How to Start an Honest Revolution and Rebuild Our World at the Same Time, Part 19, Freedom. Now, you might have noticed that in the title that I made reference to what is called an honest revolution. What is that? Just what is meant by that? Well, I won't keep you in suspense any longer. An honest revolution is exactly what it says it is, honest. You see, all the revolutions of the past have been dishonest. Just check history. Who was behind all the revolutions of the past? Was it the people? Hell no, it wasn't the people. There was always some shady, secretive group in the background financing everything, directing and coordinating things, further exciting the conflict, whatever and whenever it was in history. These people are master manipulators who, behind the scenes, control everything through coercive and illusory tactics. Of course, there were exceptions. There were many successful revolutions of the past where the people were the primary force behind the change that occurred in their respective environments. The problem is that these revolutions were directed by one central figure, who, for the most part, and not the entire body of those who were revolting. And the people who have taken over the world, the people who run the world, they know that. They study these things. Consequently, when that particular courageous, charismatic person died, the father or mother of the struggle, so to speak, the revolution usually died with it. Now, the problem also is that in revolutions of the past, the people themselves had no will of their own as to what their cause is or what their individual or collective will should be. Therefore, the will of the people could be steered in many different ways. Let me name a couple, just 6. It'll take a little while for me to do this, but I'm going to try to break it down. And even then, I'll still be scratching the surface. Illusion. What do you think happens when a people are pacified through disinformation and people who yearn to be free are pacified through disinformation and they begin to think that their demands are being met? They go right back to sleep, right? Now, let me give you an example. The Confederate flag has been ordered to be taken down, and as much as I do not support the Confederate flag, I support the right of those people who want to fly it to be able to. The government should have no right to regulate that. This incident set precedents for all flags to be taken down by court order whenever it is deemed necessary. And the worst part about it is that it had your support, black people. But you couldn't see that, could you? No one explained that to you, did they? Of course not. It's not in their best interest. They will take the rights of their own people away so that they could have carte blanche to take your rights away at the appropriate time. And just to make it really clear, I said their people, but white supremacists do not give a fuck about poor white people either. I was just using that statement as a reference to black people that think that all white people are united in keeping the black man down and that they're all for each other too. This shit is deep. Deeper than you can imagine, and things are not what they appear to be. Those who you think may be for you because they look like you may not necessarily be in line with the illusion that you've set forth for yourselves and have allowed yourselves to be infected by. So again, what do we do when we feel that our needs have been met and the threat has been dealt with and there's no need to be politically responsible or aware anymore? Back to the Super Bowl. That's what. Now, number two, distraction again. The Super Bowl, the playoffs. Hey, look, Miley Cyrus is twerking on stage again. You know what I'm saying? Um, Empire, Scandal, Game of Thrones, The Final Four, movies, social media, music, games, you name it. There are all kind of things to keep your minds occupied out here, while the people who are conspiring to take over the planet continue to do so. Number three, division. Keep them fighting. As long as we're fighting each other, these people were slowly, now very quickly taking over the whole world. Number four, confusion through integration. Now, what do you think happens when your enemy is allowed to join your struggle? Will you succeed? Just saying. Black people have a special set of challenges that are unique to just us. This whole shit is directed against us. The other ethnicities are just collateral damage. They're getting caught up in the nets that are designed for us. Because in order to get them, they got to scoop up a great deal of their people too. You know what I'm saying? Now, despite what they've done historically and continue to do at present, I have no predisposed attitude towards any white person or person of any other ethnicity when I first meet them. I do confess, however, that I am suspicious of them, and at this point, even other black people. And that's because of what I know. I'm gonna be suspicious of everyone based on what I know, and I know that I can't necessarily trust other black people because they black, they look like me, and that would lead one to believe that they would have loyalty to me in some way. But I know for a fact that that's not the case, based on what I've experienced and based on what history has shown me. Now, let me see. I must say, however, I'm an individualist and I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And it may take only for that individual to open up his or her mouth or to behave in a certain way to confirm my suspicions against them, about them. Now, I must say, oh no, well, I already said that. A huge percent of the time, my suspicions are confirmed. Now, let me say also that I believe, for the most part, that people ain't shit. They can't help it. I mean, inside the people, the nature of humankind is good, but we could be fashioned and molded and directed in so many different ways. We have the potential to be really good, but right now in our present state, we ain't shit. People lack the moral decency, discipline, and a whole lot of other adjectives that I could use to illustrate my lack of desire to even associate with most of them. And I could think of very few people that I do not. That doesn't mean I don't love them, by the way. I love all people. That I and I could think of very few people that I don't believe deserves to be put in this category. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that y'all got work to do on yourselves, and I'm constantly working on myself because I know to some degree I ain't shit either. Now go ahead, flaunt your exquisite sense of morality around myself and others. And I don't know about anyone else, but I don't believe you. That being said, let me confirm my knowledge of the fact that white people and others and the people of other ethnicities are the historical enemies of black people. Black people, surprisingly, are a part of this bunch too. So guess what that makes black people? The historical enemy of black people. But right now I'm talking about white people. Our people were much better off before forced integration and schooling and other things in America. And I'm not saying that integration was not an overall a good idea. It was a wonderful idea, but the way it was done, um, that was not a good idea. Black people in America did not have a strong enough collective personality to be integrated with anyone yet by our own choosing or by being forced because we knew too little about the truth of our history and ourselves to interact with any other ethnicities whose cultural identity was intact because they did not historically share the same brutal history that our kind did in recent times, and certainly, if ever, not to the extent that our people did at any time in history of those known to be our oppressors, let alone be forced into it. Now let's properly put things into perspective, shall we? This put black people at a disadvantage, if anything, and if anything that I said about the way this planet is being run is directed primarily against black people, if that bears any truth at all. Now, fast forward to today and getting right to the point, no bullshit, because that's not what I came here to do. Do white people love us? I can't speak for all white people because I'm not white. I'm just talking about from observation and shit like that. I'm just going to point some shit out. The answer is deep down inside, and many of them admittedly on the surface hate our asses. And the others who do love us feel threatened by us on a psychological level for many different reasons. And there's nothing that we could do to help that. No matter what we do, they portray these images on TV and this, that, and another. So no matter what we do, they're gonna think that whatever they think about us. And as a group, they will never truly love us, and that will never change. It could change, but those who we refer to as white people will have to start accepting and admitting the truth in order for that to happen. And many of them don't even want to talk. They want everybody to forget, what happened in the past. And I can understand that, man. Like you're a white man born today, and your people have been committing all of these fucked up, horrendous, atrocious acts against the other people of the planet. And you're born in this era, and you've been raised with good values and this, that, and the other, and you personally wasn't raised like that, and now you got to grow up with the shame and scorn of all of that. I could kind of feel you for that, so, and you don't want to hear that shit. I feel you, but then at the same time, none of this shit is ever going to get better if we don't tell the truth. Now, these sentiments were handed down to them generationally, and they've learned to conceal them and hide in the comfort of the fact that black people are of such a forgiving, unsuspecting nature. And when it comes to the confusion of the interaction that we've had with white folks, despite all that they've shown us about them not liking us. Now, when white folks forced black people to integrate with them, they checkmated us and neutralized any hope of our advancement in all the different ways that there is to advance because we don't know ourselves. And our people stood a better chance of advancement when we knew how they felt about us because we had our own schools, we had our own shops. We knew that we had to do everything for ourselves. Remember when white people openly wanted to keep themselves separate from our people, but then they discovered that to compete against us economically and in all those different ways was probably not a good idea. So they fought against integration too until they figured that out, but for different reasons. Remember that? Now, if I sound a little offensive in my statements and in my tone in reference to other ethnicities who, for the record, have historically been known to murder, rape, lie to, cheat, and steal from my ancestors and still continue to do these things today, please excuse me. Life has been a little rough. And frankly, to be completely honest, the way that I express myself could be much worse. I could be approaching what I'm doing from a completely different angle after what you and your people have done and continue to do. I'm speaking to those people who are tacitly and actively complicit in those deeds, whatever they are. Anyway, frankly, oh yeah, sorry about that. And believe me, a lot of people, they want me to be speaking at that different angle, speaking angrily and fucking rotten now, you mother son out. But I'm not about that. The way I express myself in reference to describing how I feel about you guys now that I know what I know is what I would characterize as mild, because although I do not sound like it, I am very angry. But my anger will not fix the situations that I'm talking about, will it? I know that name calling and spreading enmity about the planet is not the way to fix things, but I cannot fix things by telling lies and softening things up. So do not expect me to be politically correct either, because that's also not the way. I came to stir the pot, shake the nest, blow up the spot, put shit on blast, start a shit storm. I don't know how many other ways that I could put it. One thing that you should be supremely aware of is this, that I am not here to harm others by words or with blows or with either. I'm not here to be harmed by others either. I simply want to make the world a better place. Now, as we know, the world is becoming a much worse place. So, how do you make the world a better place? Well, all I'm saying is do whatever small contribution I could make. You know, if I could reach one person or 10 people or whatever, I did my part. I did make the world a better place. Now, I would, of course, like to see my vision manifest on a large scale, and only the Most High is in charge of that. You know, it's just for me to do what I could do. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, I cannot imagine anyone successfully solving any problem that would ever present itself at any particular time without truly being aware of what the problem slash problems is or slash are, respectively. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm here to do today, to successfully identify on a small level to anyone sincerely interested in making this world a better place for us all, what the problems are from my vantage point. I'm specifically speaking to Black people, but I know that other people are listening too, and you're welcome to listen. That's the reason that I'm addressing you right now. I know that you think that this is about being against you, but it's not about that at all. It is about us, African people, worldwide. You know, a lot of y'all don't identify as African or Black or whatever, but you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Getting our shit together. And if you, as an other ethnicity, as a member of another ethnicity, want to get in our way, then it is about you and against you too. Next, among the factors that I've considered, because remember I told you that there were six. Education. What effect do you think that omitting the glorious history of the people who originate ancestrally on the continent of Africa has had on our people? What if it were common knowledge to all of us that this thing that we have throughout the world called civilization started with us? That's right, we started this shit. Would we be out here doing what we're doing? Nope, because we'd have much more pride in ourselves. We were much more than what they ever taught us that we are in school. And our ancestors once ruled this planet, this entire planet, responsibly. We are the indigenous progenitors of the world. All races come from us. Anyway, do you think that the things that they gave us in public schools or any of the schools that we've attended is education? I have news for you. That's not education that you've been receiving in school. In school, you're not being taught how to think and to problem solve. You're being taught how to obey. And if you were being taught how to think and we would all be we would all be free right now, wouldn't we? Because we would think our way out of this. No, we are being socialized into obedience, and we've always been. We've been socialized into producing the desirable answer every time. Now, if you allow who is historically known to be your enemy to educate you, you will never be free, will you? Why? Because your enemy is in competition with you. Your enemy feels threatened by your very existence. He would wipe you out completely if he could. And believe me, he is trying, but he knows that he cannot do it without your cooperation. So he's got to dumb you down and make you do shit against yourself. Your enemy knows that he has to trick you into cooperating with him, into going down a path of self-destruction. And he's successfully done so far, because he knows that he cannot destroy you himself. And with the knowledge that his ancestors have stolen from our ancestors, they have elevated themselves to the level of godhood right here on earth, while the rest of us are reduced to serfdom by way of deception and coercion through education and violence. Now, your historical enemy, Black people, whoever they are, does not have your best interest at heart. Now, why do you think he wants to educate you for free? There's not a damn thing that you could think of in this world that is free, is there? Certainly not in America. But education is free in America, isn't it? Ever wonder why that is? It is that way because in America and other countries throughout the world, like ours, the people the people in those countries all have to think alike in order for the people who think they run this world to be able to get away with doing the things that they do. Now just think about it. What is the actual function of school anyway? I already pointed out that it is designed to socialize one into obedience, i.e., the power of the pack. But did you ever stop to wonder about the fact that because of what is allowed to be taught at school, that an artificial national consensus is created? That's right. An artificial national consensus is a condition in which all people from all different walks of life from a society think like I was thinking like on all major issues. Beginning to get the picture now? You may not pay for your public school education up front, but you do pay for it in the long run. Let me give you an example of an artificial national consensus that people throughout the world, not just in America, believe as a result of education. People throughout the world believe that black people ain't shit and that our history started in slavery. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, this is just one example of how we end up paying in the end a lot. And even though our so-called education is free, as they say. Now, the last one I'm going to identify is 6, religion. This has been the number one debilitating factor concerning the advancement of Africans worldwide. Whoever wants to identify as an African or black or however you want to identify yourself as, or you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Coupled with the fact that historically we've demonstrated and unarguably proven that we don't know who we are. Now, who is the Almighty and what does He want us to do? Does He want us to submit our will and actions to those who are in authority because He put them in charge, as suggested in the book of Romans, 13th chapter of the Bible? Or does He want us to render unto Caesar what Caesar has laid claim to? Does He want us to love our enemies and pray for them? Does any of this make sense to you at all? And if it doesn't, then why is still doing it? As you could clearly see if you consider yourself an intelligent person, that this is not sound advice for our people, and these types of philosophies could lead to some deep-rooted psychological issues manifesting themselves in a people who yearn to be free. And this condition is self-perpetuating because everywhere you go throughout this world, this thing touted as gospel is being spread. And it is propagated as the truth, but those of us who are in the know are aware of its falsehood and the intent behind its creation and spread. For those of you that think that the Bible is just meant to confound black people, I would say that you're wrong because the Bible is successfully having an effect of spreading confusion everywhere. And so is the Quran. It is all bullshit. And I will spare you all the trouble who are religious fanatics by exposing one fundamental universal truth right now, that there is no legitimate religion out there divinely inspired by the Almighty, and that all religious beliefs emanating from the Abrahamic faiths are all based on the worship of Satan or Chronos or time, all of them. So you could stop wasting your time trying to perfect and master all your elaborate rituals because it is all bullshit, straight up. All you got to do is study and you'll find out exactly what I'm talking about. Now, these are just 6 ways that the will of the people are being steered or directed. While there are many others, I only had time to just barely scratch the surface of these. And I want to switch gears and move on to other subjects and stop talking about all this race stuff. But I got to go back to that because I feel I have not given the things that I'm speaking about enough context, and that certain things that I said could be taken the wrong way. So I wish to be properly understood. So in that spirit, I have to give the subject a little bit more time. I accused white people and other ethnicities of being the historical enemies of black people. I also accuse black people of doing that too, certain sects of us. Now, is this true or is it not true? Because if it's true, then could someone also confirm for me the date that this was no longer the case. People are just people, I understand that, and people are individuals, and a lot of individuals from other ethnicities hate what they see being done to our people. But and but they are just as powerless as we are, just about. Besides, we will not stand up, so why should they? A lot of people of other ethnicities just love them some black people. Take my wife, for example, a white girl, a Colorado girl. Don't know shit about the Caribbean. All she knew is that it's warm here and that there's black people here. She was here for about a week when she met me. We've been together ever since. We had a couple children, and this is considered her home now. And I consider her to be a person of high moral standards, and she's white. You know what I'm saying? She's a really good person, which is how somebody like me could even be with somebody like that. Anyway, I have lots of other white friends, but they ain't really friends though. White and black friends. I don't use that word lightly. I know that they ain't down with the conspiracy against me and my people specifically, but they ain't doing nothing about it. But the people who look like them are. And if I'm not careful, I will confuse my friends for who I think might love me, for whom I refer to as the enemy. Now, not all white people are my enemy or the enemy of people who look like me. In fact, I would say that not even most white people of the world are the enemy of people that look like me, or black people, or people of any other ethnicity. I think that at this point in time, people are tired of all this bullshit. And we all want to live well with one another, but we just don't know how. What are we gonna do? Expel motherfuckers to space, or we gonna incarcerate them? We gonna enslave all of them, or whatever? No, the people of the world, most of us, we don't want that. A lot of us want revenge, and but after we get the revenge, we realize that the shit ain't worth it. The best thing to do now is stand up as a man or a woman, strong, to ensure that nobody ever violates you in any kind of way that you don't want to be violated. Anyway, they're not all our enemies. You can't just don't watch Faces because that shit will fuck you up every time. Anyway, people have to learn to temporarily, emotionally, and rationally place themselves into other people's shoes, so to speak, in order that we could understand what is going on with the other person or other people that we are individually in conflict with or collectively in conflict with, if we truly want to righteously settle things and to live in a better world. We want to skip past all the fluff, all the extra bullshit, and get to what's the point? What's bothering you, my friend? Why are me and you in conflict? Can't we go further? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying to be a pussy and bend to the will of nobody or anybody. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not telling you to love thy enemy and shit like that. What, if anything, what I'm trying to do is trying to get you to understand your enemy, and try to get you to get your enemy to understand you by putting shit all out in the open, having that information out there so that people could come to their own righteous conclusion. Anyway, I would go further to say that anyone oh yeah, I did not come here to say that black people are the only ones that are good and that all other ethnicities are bad, because if you possess any sense within you at all, you would know that that is bullshit, and anyone who says that is full of shit. And if I were saying that now or leading to that, I would say that you probably have better things to do with your time than to listen to the philosophies and opinions of just another self-justifying bigot, because that's what I would be. I would go further to say that anyone who thought that I was heading in that direction is about to get disappointed. You see, I'm not saying anything to impress anyone or to win anyone's favor by making statements to massage one's ego while destroying the ego of another. I want everyone who deserves it to feel good about themselves. And I look at life through my own set of eyes, and I process information with my own brain, not anyone else's. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be speaking to you the way that I am right now. So what do I mean by that? By now, you might have already observed that I have an unorthodox speaking style. And while most speakers try to win their audiences over with compliments, I really don't give a fuck what you think about me if I'm telling the truth about you. I don't care if you like me. What I do care about, though, is whether or not you're willing to make the sacrifices in life as an individual to help make this world a better place. If you do not care about that, then in my opinion, there's no sense in even getting to know you or interacting with you in any way. And until that changes, you're dead to me. So no matter who you are, dead by consent, family, friends, no matter who, dead by choice. Now switch gears like I wanted to and get into other things, and I'm almost done. I got about 5 to 7 more minutes left. Anyway, um, before I go any further, I would like to thank the Almighty Creator and his wife, my mother and father. I say this because if there's a father, there must be a mother. And I would also like to thank the people who made this song, Anthony Hamilton and Elena Boyd, because it's a wonderful song and instrumental. Now, continuing, freedom. Am I looking for freedom? Nah, not me. Hell no. I'm not looking for freedom because I know certain things that a lot of y'all don't know. I'm not looking for freedom anymore because, unlike many other people that I know, I acknowledge that freedom is a state of mind. I will personally never be more free than I am right now, meaning that no one could ever guarantee my freedom or give it to me. And in the same light, no one could ever take it away from me unless I let them. You feeling me? I'm already free no matter what the conditions I seem to be facing. And that freedom that I possess has to be defended by me above all others every time it is challenged. There's nobody else to defend me for my freedom. And that person isn't always going to be there. Those people ain't always going to be there. Nobody's going to walk up to me and give me my freedom papers, and then there's going to be people there to defend it for me. What kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? I was born free, and I just got to, it should have been a system in place where, somebody would tell me that, like where I would know that. I had to learn that along the line, but there wasn't. So, like I said, that freedom has to be defended by me above all others every time it's challenged. Now, listen closely. The Almighty only gave us two things, life and choice, and He kind of gave us a third thing, discernment. But I'm not talking about that right now. Whoever wants to could just take my life away from me if they could, and if I allowed them to, if they were capable of separating it from me, or if I gave it to them. And same thing with my freedom. Now, at this point in my existence, I know that there's one thing that the people could not take away from me, and that is my choice or choices, going along willingly, whether it be under the threat of force, compulsion, coercion, or whatever. They cannot take my choices from me. All government exists as a result of the consent of the governed, and the issue of our collective freedom would not even be an issue if it was fiercely challenged and defended by the individual. You cannot successfully affect the masses without affecting the individual first. Therefore, it is the freedom of the individual. It is the freedom of the individual that must be secured before any collective freedom could ever genuinely be established. Now, how could I support this statement in fact? Well, it should be obvious, but for some, I know that it's not. And I'll come back to this, but first I have to tell you why I chose this soundtrack. And I'm going to reset it, and I'm going to play the actual the song with words, and I'm going to paraphrase while I'm playing it. So break down what the song is saying. So hopefully you get some kind of profound understanding of the feeling that I'm trying to convey to you, or the message actually. So anyway, this is Anthony Boyd and Anthony Hamilton and Elena Boyd with the words to the song Freedom. And it's what you call it, how long is this song? This song is 3 minutes and 44 seconds. So please indulge me as I paraphrase while I'm doing it. And I hope things go well because I might mess this up. Anyway, She said, felt like the weight of the world was on her shoulders, pressure to break or retreat at every turn. Isn't that what we're all facing? Don't we feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, and everywhere we go, there's pressure to break or retreat. Like you break as a person and submit, or retreat at every turn. Ain't no way you could go that you don't feel that. Anyway, facing the fear of the truth that I discovered, which is the fact that I am as much of a slave now, if not more, than my ancestors ever were. Or collectively speaking, we're slaves. And since I've researched as much as I have on the subject, and I know what I know, it's too late for me to turn back now. I've come too far. I know too much. I've come too far. So it's like I can't pretend like that. I gotta be me. I got to, and plus I'm too far exposed anyway. So I've come too far to go back now. Listen to the rest of this verse right here. Dream at every turn, facing the fear that the truth I discovered. No telling how all this will work out, but I've come too far to go back now. I'm looking for freedom, looking for freedom, and to find it, gonna take everything I have, my life, my friends, my family, like, because I won't play this fucking game that people are playing out here, and I won't play the way that everybody else wants me to play. Like I stand out like a sore thumb. Like it's like nobody wants to suffer the way that I've been known to suffer, in society due to the stance that I've taken. I've suffered many indignities, in order to get to where I'm at. So anyway, continue. Next verse. I lost everything. The next verse is from Anthony Hamilton, and check out how he breaks it down. Before I get to him, let me just break it down orally. Now that I know what I got to do, and I'm breaking it down, paraphrasing what he's saying, I have I have to also face the fact that it won't come easy. So he says, I know all too well it won't come easy because the chains of the world seem to be moving in so tight. Like you don't got room to do nothing different, really. You got to walk in a particular way. And so I try to walk around and avoid these motherfuckers and do what I got to do anyway. But the stumbling has become commonplace because there's so many obstacles in my way. And no matter how much I try to come up, I realize that the down is so strong. And if I'm looking for freedom, I got to realize that it might take everything I have, including my life. Everything I have, I know all too well, it don't come easy. The chains of the world, they seem to move in time. I try to walk around and the stumbling so familiar. Trying to get up, but the down is so strong. There's gotta be a wind in my bones. I'm looking for freedom, looking for freedom, and to find it, cost me everything I have. That's me, y'all. That's my story. I don't really give a fuck about that. Whatever it costs me, it's the right thing is what I gotta do. Anyway, next verse coming up, where Elena Boyd is kicking. She says that giving up has always been hard, like it is for me. And I know that if I'm to be successful, I cannot do things the lazy way because I can't get far. So what did I have to do? I've been studying like the past 10 years, studying like nobody's business. I've been farming. I've been reaching out to my brothers and sisters in humanity, trying to explain. But the spell on them is so damn strong. It's like, wow, could this shit ever really happen? But I won't give up, because I've come too far to go back now, So anyway, If I do things the lazy way, I won't get far. And anyway, life hasn't been this next verse that she's coming up with. She's gonna say, "Life hasn't been very kind to me lately," which is true for me. Like I said, suffered all kind of indignities. A lot of people saw my video go viral just standing up for myself against this police and, what have you. Homeboy put uh, hundreds of thousands of votes into me, and I survived that. And I went through all kind of other indignities that people didn't know about. And finding freedom has taken almost everything I have, but there's a put. But I suppose that's a push for moving on, because if things wasn't so hard, then I probably wouldn't have the motivation to keep pushing on. And I know that in time, the sun's going to shine on me nicely, because the universe is telling me that good things are coming. So all I got to do is fight for it. And I'm not going to not believe. So I continue to look for freedom, not just for myself, because as I already told you, I found freedom. But I did not let on to is the fact that I will never be truly free and fully free until you are all free too. So let me continue. Oh, not giving up has always been so hard. Now if I do things the lazy way, I won't get far. Life hasn't been very kind to me lately. Well, but I suppose it's a push for moving on. In time, the sun's gonna shine on me brightly. Something tells me good things are coming, and I ain't gonna not believe. I'm looking for freedom. Sorry, I can't sing. And to find it, I still feel good singing it. Oh, I'm looking for freedom. Looking for freedom. And to find it. That's what it's going to take, in order to get freedom. Everything you have. Now back to the instrumental. And like I said I got about 5 more minutes. I actually got like about 2 minutes left, 3 more minutes. Anyway, how does this tie into the individual being the foundation of an honest revolution through the use of the vehicle of empowerment called knowledge? The answer is that once one acquires knowledge that the game is being played against him or her, or how it is being played and how long it is being played, and hopefully that individual will never be the same and they can act accordingly. That individual now has more choices. And if that individual continues to acquire knowledge, particularly in relation to the dynamics that function in the world around him or her, that individual becomes in a position where he or she could win the game against his or her opponent. One could even conceivably, through diligence, change the game if they choose. Now, without knowledge, no one with a desire to would even know where to start, what to do, or why they should do. Now, concluding, it would be a logistical nightmare for any colonial or imperial power to control a nation of people who not only think for themselves, but have the ability to come together and think critically and analytically of all major issues of national and international importance. Now, things like nations, national pride, national importance, nation states, anything dealing with any nation, the rulers and all of that shit, they all have to be abolished eventually through the exercising of our choices by recognizing things for what they are and not choosing to participate. we do participate, or we do come up with something new, in which there is a ruler, there would have to be some kind of checks and balances in order to ensure that the corruption does not flourish throughout the realm. So I guess that's it. There's a whole lot of other things that I could say on this issue. I just wanted to help put this subject into perspective a little bit as a foundation for other things that I plan to talk about in the near future. And I'm sorry to be so abrupt. And for those of you that made it this far into my production, I thank you for listening. And for more information, if you want to help support me in any kind of way, financially, physically, through physical support or material support or what have you, there are a few ways to get in contact with me, and I'm about to share it with you. For more info, hit me up on Facebook, or as I call it, Fake Friends Book, under the name Fear None Everlasting, or look for me on YouTube under the name Everett Parker Jr. That's Everette, Parker, Parker, Jr., Jr. Or call me at my personal hotline at 340-244-5176. Just a warning about the hotline. I don't answer my phone for just anyone. So if you decide to call me, leave a message and state your business with me. And if I'm interested, I'll call you back. Thank you. Now, in parting, I'd like to say what I always say in all my revolutionary pieces. Right on to the real and death to the fakers. Justify your existence or die like a punk. One. This has been another Fear None Everlasting presentation. Take care, you guys. Until next time.